Saturday, everybody. You're welcome to the Today's Woman Show. It's a delight to have you on. My name is Renee Q. Boateng, and today you're going to be ever so blessed. You'll find out why. We'll be right back. It's time for the woman on the move. This is a female entrepreneur pressing on towards her goal. Let's see who she is this week.
AF Fashion is a dressmaking enterprise mainly into children clothing, located at Santasi Epri in the Kumasi metropolis.
I decided to step into dressmaking with the idea of eliminating Ghanaians bringing in too many broniwewu into the system. We are doing adult clothing, yes, but let's move back down a little bit, concentrate on children, because there are a lot of influx of children's clothing from outside, all reused things. I said, let's get back into the market and then teach people how to use Ghanaian-made products for their babies, their children, and let them patronize it. You know, when you wear clothing, it's not just for protecting yourself, like your nudity. No, it's also protecting your integrity. It's also protecting your person. It is portraying an image. It is telling us something. And then at the end of the day, it is also giving you style.
Ajua Fusuya has a bachelor's degree in geography and political science from the University of Ghana. But what was the motivation for going into the fashion industry?
By the time I was completing, one of my lecturers told me that, Ajua, you are not meant for the classroom. You are supposed to be doing some craft work. So go and learn something with your hands and start doing it. I looked at him and I was like, what do you mean by that? My parents have spent a lot on me to be in Legon, and you want me to go and do some, I don't know what you want me to do. He said, you will thank me one day. So I just left. And lo and behold, I had this skill when I was growing up because a lot of people in my house sew. So as I came out of school, university graduate, not getting employed, I decided, okay, I have a skill. Nobody taught me. Let me use it. And here we are.
She had many dreams, including becoming a journalist.
I loved journalism growing up. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a TV personality. I even wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a movie actor. I mean, when we are young, we just have too many dreams at the same time. So I decided to go to Rabodef when I came out of the university. So I was trained by Tomian Forsen, Cyril Akolache, Charlie Sam, and the likes. And then when I had the training, I set out to get a job in media. I got exposed in the media, yes, but the roles I wanted to play as a presenter, I never got to do it. I got to be in marketing, I got to be like a sales girl, running around trying to find customers.
The company was registered in 2016.
And we got all our documents right with the government. We also got all our taxes right. And then we decided to bring in people to work with us. A friend bought the first machine for me to start. He said he wanted to be part of my success story, so he bought the machine for me. So I started using my sister, as you can see, as my model. I do things, I try it on her. Then she takes it out, people see it and they're like, who did this for you? She says, my sister did it. And they're like, when did your sister get into fashion and she can do this? Then people start, requesting for things themselves. I do put, every time I bring out something, my sister wears the prototype, then it goes like boom. So by so doing, we decided to start a business out of it.
AF Fashion has 5 additional workers and sources all raw materials locally.
We are able to do roughly, like in a day, like 8 or 10. Then probably by the end of the week, like 40 or 50, depending on the number of orders we have.
For many startups, funding has been a challenge. What advice do you have for them?
Okay. The advice I'll give all of us young people who really want to start a business that start as small as possible. I started this business with 300 cedis. I just got myself a machine. I just got a few threads, and I got scissors. I mean, the basic things that can help you sew. Then you can move on from there. When you do the right thing, the customer appreciates it, pays for it. Then from 1 you go to 2, from 2 then you are escalating.
Our winning woman for today is Mrs. Doris Ahiati. I call her Lady Doris, so I'll be calling her Lady Doris throughout the show. It's such a blessing to have her on today. She's so busy, and I'm so glad that today I've been able to grab her. And today you're going to be so blessed. I mean, the words of wisdom and inspiration, that is what the Today's Woman Show is all about. So get ready. You're so welcome. I'm so glad to have you. Finally, we made the day.
Thank you.
I'll tell you how I met her. So I was speaking at it's a women's networking program, yes. And I was on the panel, and before the discussion actually started, there were a few people speaking and giving short presentations, and she was one of them who was actually speaking for SIBS Africa, which we'll talk about later. And I mean, when she started speaking, I was like, wow. Number 1, I need her card. Number 2, she's coming on the Today's Woman Show. Number 3, she's come to inspire everybody watching. So like I said, sit down, maybe grab a pen and a paper, because this woman is a woman of wisdom and knowledge. So you're welcome again. She's the co-founder and CEO of Crescendo Consult Limited. It's a financial advisory company. She's an executive coach, and it's also a consulting firm. So I mean, I read your profile and I was like, my goodness. When I finished, it's short, but wow. You were working at Data Bank before.
That's right.
You were the vice president.
Yes.
So why did you leave? And there's so much I want to learn about, accounting, which you should teach us. With all this, commotion going around now with microfinancing, microfinance companies, and so many people losing their monies, we need to be advised, correctly. Because I hear Data Bank is safe. That's what we hear. But yes, but how was that journey? How did you get yourself, being the vice president?
Thank you very much, Renee. Data Bank is a wonderful place to work with. I have to give them that credit. It's an environment that allows everyone that has a growth mindset to thrive and to rise. I say this because at the time I was recruited, at the same interview, there was a male friend of mine, mate from the university, who also happened to be recruited. And if you look at the trajectory of progress through the firm, there wasn't much difference.
Oh, wow.
Notwithstanding the fact that along the line I have to take maternity leave, etc. I think they reward performance, and they give you the opportunity to also explore. For example, I tend to come up with all sorts of crazy ideas, and every now and then I have some idea I present, and I'm given the opportunity to try to execute it, make it work. Wow. And they throw resources behind it.
Wow.
Yes, so I believe
in their staff,
they believe in their staff. Usually they would go out there to fish out staff that have certain values that align with the company's own values, which include excellence and integrity, leadership. So I believe once they find the people, they give them all the room to make mistakes. And I made my fair share of mistakes in there. Yes, maybe along the line we'll talk about it. Yes. But through it all, they gave me the opportunity, and I think that is how I managed to get to where I am. The other factor is God. When you believe in God and you believe that you are not just here by mistake or that you are an accident, but you are here with a mission, and you are looking up to the person who put you here to supply you with the needs in order to achieve that mission, then you just keep going, and somehow he helps you to get to where he wants you to get to.
Yeah, I really like what you said, because sometimes, a lot of women, men, they already have it within them, and they're probably in, in a company, in a society, but they doubt themselves, and that self-doubt doesn't allow them to come out. So when people ask me sometimes where I get my confidence or craziness in quotes, like how I can just come out and do it, that's what I say.
Yeah.
That is believing where I got it from. So if I believe that I got it from God, where is the fear here? So if I'm going to do something and I believe that God gave it to me, how will I fail, basically? Of course, you make mistakes here and there, but you'll still get up. You'll still get up there. So I really like what you've already said. Now, you have finance, you've been into finance and accounting for many, many years. A lady told me, so the lady I interviewed before you was like, this lady, Wabing, those were her exact words. She said, this lady is intelligent when it comes to accounting, when it comes to finance. So how did you get yourself in accounting and finance? Because growing up, everybody says, I don't like maths. I don't like maths. I mean, that's one subject that people rather run away from. You speak to people, they study psychology in university. Why? Because that's easy. That's what they'll tell you. So how come you actually pressed on to finance and accounting?
Thank you very much. It's interesting that you ask this question. I think in my formative years in the primary school, my mathematics numbers were okay. Then somewhere beyond basic school, I realized that my performance at maths was declining. And I did not understand why, save for the fact that I didn't like my maths teacher then. Because this maths teacher will come with a cane in hand, give you some complicated problems to solve, and if you don't get it right, before you even think about breaking then the cane is on you. So I went back and I used to keep my text papers. So I was going through and I was looking at the scores, high 90s. So I was asking myself why. If I could score these high 90s in the lower primary, upper primary, then it means that the potential is there for me to do well in mathematics. And therefore, I should just stop paying attention to this particular teacher. And I should change my attitude towards him.
How old were you?
I would have been 11, 12 years old.
And you did that yourself?
Yes. Because I just couldn't crack it. I didn't like the scores. I was scoring below 50. So it beat my mind.
You could think like that. You could look at it, compare, and even tell yourself to change your mindset at 11.
Yes. Yes, I thought that there's something about the teacher. I had become scared of the teacher. When he comes to the classroom, I'm not paying attention. I'm not listening. And so mathematical problems are like stories. And you have to be able to read, understand, and then break it apart. Now, if you are afraid when the equation is put in front of you, your brain sort of shuts. Yes, so you can't understand. You cease to think, and therefore you can't solve the problem. So deciding to go at it again and believing that if I could score high 90s sometime, then it means the same brain has the capacity to do it now. So now I didn't pay attention to the teacher when he came to the class. I just tried to focus on what he's trying to do. And I also adopted the attitude of reading ahead of the teacher. So I try to have some background before he comes in, if I know what topic or chapter we are on, so that he doesn't put me under too much pressure to try and solve his problems. And I steadily got over it. And I carried on like that through secondary school. I had a habit of every morning solving a few mathematical problems. And that was thanks to advice by my dad. He encouraged me that in secondary school I should do that, and it will help me to keep my performance up. And I think that is what helped me. So generally I developed the attitude that just calm down, relax, look at it, and try to see what you can do about it. And I found out my brain works better that way.
But that's a fantastic way of thinking for any problem.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. For most situations that I've had to deal with through career, through pregnancy, child raising, everywhere, social problems, extended family, I always adopt that approach. Breathe, calm down. Now think through it. Because I realize that somehow I think better when I'm not scared.
So did you actually decide that you wanted to press on and follow on in accounting, in maths, in finance? Is that what you were going to do?
Yes, but not a very, very precise yes, because then I didn't understand what finance and all that entailed. I knew what I wanted to do. And I was saying this at the UG graduation a couple of weeks back. I said that I wanted to sit in an office and I wanted to think about problems and come up with solutions to those problems. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I didn't have a name to it. So based on my attitude and tendencies at home, my parents tend to guide us to choose something that aligns with our attitude at home. So I found myself in the social sciences based on his advice. So I was studying economics, I was studying geography. And
that's good. So based on your that's what your parents thought it would be good for you.
Yes, based on my attitude at home.
Okay.
And some of those attitudes growing up are funny. My sister was telling my husband the other day when he visited her, that as a child you would find me sitting quietly somewhere playing with a toy, and I'm talking to the toy, I'm advising the toy, and so living life abundantly between myself and objects and things around. So I can retreat and think about things, and I can play out situations. So I think all that contributed, and they saw this child to also have the tendency to look at problems, try to address it. So we went on the path of economics, and at a much senior level in the university, the options available were administration. Now I had a better understanding. So I went into the Bachelor of Science Administration, and then you have to specialize. Right. So you do a foundation in accounting, quantitative methods, marketing, human resource management, organizational behavior, and all that. And then when it came time to specialize, I realized that I really loved banking and finance. So that's how I ended up in banking and finance. And I've always loved it and continued to grow deeper in banking and finance. One, because it helped to understand and address financial problems that people have. You see, everyone's life at some point is touched by finances. Yes. And we also say that finance in business happens to be the lifeline or the blood.
Yes, exactly.
Somehow, even in our personal lives, you know, there's a song that says "Sikaye Moja." Yeah. Not everybody understands money. And I had experiences and opportunities all the way from primary school where I was given money to handle. So that may also be why I easily gravitated towards banking and finance. I had been treasurer when we formed the Bible study group in primary school. In the senior secondary school as well, I was treasurer. So people kept entrusting their money to me. Yes. And so that also naturally had equipped me with some basic skills in managing the funds. And naturally, I continued in studying banking and finance. And then along the line, I thought that, you know, the capital market is not enough to just have money, put it in a bank, borrow and all that, which is what banking is about. Yes. But there is the investment side where you actually put the money to a certain strenuous use. You sweat it and you get better returns. It's more risk you are taking, but you get better returns
we'll talk about that, the risks. Wow.
So then I took the securities courses and I graduated with the degree, and then the stock market courses as well. And then along the line, I enrolled to do the chartered banking. So I was just going deeper and deeper. I wanted to be an expert.
You were swimming in it. Oh
yes.
My goodness, going deeper.
Yes, I've always enjoyed it. So I went deeper, did the chartered professional in banking, and then I also went back to do the master's in finance.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've practiced in that space. One person that has made quite a great impact on me, he's currently the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. When I was being recruited to DataBank, asked me how long I was going to stay. I said, I will stay a very long time.
So he actually asked you that?
Yes.
When you were being recruited?
Yes, okay. At the interview. I think they wanted somebody that would be loyal. So I said, I'll be there for a long time. He asked how long. I said 3 years. He said, wow, because I had been just 1 year And the previous job, I had been just a couple of months, and I kept moving to something. It was all in the area of banking and finance, but I was
Why were
moving
you
pretty
moving?
fast.
Is it that you wanted something that was more
Challenging.
Challenging. Okay.
Yes, something more challenging. And so after 3 years in Data Bank, I was going to leave to do my master's. That was the plan. But then I also wanted to become an expert. And he advised me that it took on average 10 years to become an expert.
Wow.
And I was really hungry to become an expert.
Like why? What was it? What was it? Was it just, you know, was it just the name, like the title, just to say, though, I'm an expert in this? Or is it just something that deep within you, you wanted to just see what it would be like or feel what it would be like? What was the reason? Why were you pushing to be an expert?
Okay. So I've always seen myself to be a helper. So when I was treasurer, I was helping with the management of the funds. When funds were idle, I would actually turn it around for it to grow a bit for whichever group I was treasurer to. I did mention at one time I was treasurer to a French club at the University of Ghana as well. So it was the desire to help. And when you are an expert and you are helping people, you give them the right kind of help. You don't make mistakes. You don't expose them to unnecessary risks. So that was the driving force for me to become an expert. So when he said it would take 10 years, I stayed at Data Bank for over 12 years.
Wow.
Yes, before leaving.
Was it because of the advice he gave you?
Partly that. And
Or you were actually growing as well?
I was growing, and I was not getting bored.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I get bored if I can predict outcomes. I'm a bit adventurous. So when I'm working on a project, I don't want to be able to exactly predict how the outcome is going to be. If I'm able to predict it precisely and the outcome is the same a couple of times, it starts...
So you think that it's not like, you're sort of like you're above that, like you're not utilizing your brain enough, basically. Is that what it is? Or it's not challenging enough, basically?
For me, it feels like I cooked it up.
Really?
Because I could see the end. And I started working towards it, and in the end, it was what I had seen.
But isn't that easier?
I don't like to cook up things. I want to make a discovery at the end of the day. But I think it came in handy when I was a research analyst, and you have to do projections, forecasts. You have to look into the future. And you have to do analysis for some of the listed companies, forecast how their performance is going to be, based on which you calculate what we call an internal value, intrinsic value. Based on that, you recommend whether investors should buy or sell a particular stock.
Right.
But it came very handy being able to see things, how they are likely to be, and sometimes getting really close outcomes in relation to what you had predicted.
Oh, wow. Like, now, I mean, this industry, you find more men than women in this industry. So I'm glad that you're saying that you actually worked for a company that allowed women to grow as well. And that's, you know, kudos to Data Bank for that, for not looking, you know, at that. But have you ever felt in this industry that you were not given, and it could be anywhere at any point, have you ever felt like, you know, you didn't have, or you haven't gotten the clients that you could get because you're a woman? Have you ever felt that way? Or you haven't reached or gotten certain things that you could have gotten because you're a woman? Do you feel like sometimes certain things are given to men? You know, and, you know, sometimes you get to a meeting, like, you know, a lady was saying to me that, you know, her name is a unisex name. So she went to this meeting, and her potential clients came in, and when they came, the first thing they said was, "You're a woman?" You know, and probably if they had known that she was a woman, they probably wouldn't even have booked that meeting because of the job that it was and because of the money that was also involved in it. So do you think this industry is one that is perceived to be like a male industry?
I've been thinking really hard, racking my brains to see if I'll find one personal example. Unfortunately, I don't have one personal example.
That's more fortunate.
But I'm very aware that these are real issues in the finance industry. These are real issues, and I'm on a number of committees and groups that try to support and encourage women, equip them with the skills that they need to be able to thrive in the field of finance. Generally, it's a tough and stressful environment, very fast-paced. And so some people have the concern or reservation that a woman may not be so fast. But I'm also aware that some women can prove themselves. And once they see that you've proven yourself, I think they give you the opportunity. For example, there was a time when I would go to the office with spare underwear and toothbrush and things in my handbag. So if it became necessary for me to fly out to some meeting somewhere and sleep over, that I could do that. So that was
going back home?
Without going back home. So I came to work, I'm in the office and I have to attend a meeting and sleep over in Takoradi or somewhere. I should be able to go without. That's what a man will do, right?
Yeah, true.
They would go and sometimes just buy underwear.
Yes,
and these are the little things
At
that...
At the time, were you married?
At the time, I was not married.
Okay.
At the
Because
time...
I want to talk about, later on, we'll talk about how, how you could sort of rise up in a corporate world or and even in your own business and all that, as a married woman and also a mother. When you're young and single, you can, quickly do all those things easily. But imagine you had 2 children at home and a husband. You probably can't just take that thinking, if I don't come, I don't come. But what I want to ask you now is, you said at the beginning, you said that a lot of people don't understand money.
Yes.
I want you to speak to us on that. What do you mean by, we don't, and how, what does it take for us to understand money?
Okay. I'll come at it this way. When you have studied money and when you have studied finance, you understand that time is money. And so in the field of banking and finance, there's something we call, and in the field of investment, we call time value of money. So we actually say something like $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. Now, this is not just something we say in passing. There's a meaning behind it. The meaning being that if you have $1 today, or if you have 1 Ghana cedi today, you can actually turn it around. You can do something with it to increase its value by tomorrow. And I said that there's this time value of money, and time is money. Because once the money is in your hand, you can put it to work. The same way when you don't have money and you have time, you can use that time to do something that will earn you something that is valuable. And sometimes people have the opportunity to do something that will earn them money and they will not make it. And sometimes we make decisions that cost us. So it actually, the choice we've made takes money away from us. And one of such instances is wastage. You go to the sink, you turn on the tap, and it's just running. By the end of the month, you pay water bill. So you leave the AC on.
Most of us are guilty to this. Let's listen.
You leave the AC on, or you go to your refrigerator to pick some vegetables from the vegetable bin, and the fridge door is ajar while you are selecting the vegetables. But you could actually just pull the bin out, close the fridge door.
I did that this morning.
Don't worry, I used to do that too. So these attitudes and habits and how we carry on in a 24-hour period, I can choose to just go and sit by the roadside and stare into space, watch and count the cars passing by, and it is money that I'm wasting.
Because you can be working.
I can be working, I can be doing something valuable. Even if it doesn't put actual cash in my hand, it will add value to somebody's life. So then it compels you to reassess yourself and identifying your purpose, so that every time, however many minutes or hours you have in a day, that you put it to good use. You're either developing yourself so that you're becoming a better version of yourself, or you are giving a bit of yourself to other people.
But with this sort of notion, wouldn't it make you a bit like, at every point you're thinking, can I be doing something? Can you rest? Like, can you just relax without thinking that time, this is this? There are some people that are like nerds in a way, that are so serious about everything. You don't seem that kind at all, actually. You seem so, I wouldn't have guessed that you have this sort of, I don't know, you have this sort of, You don't see that kind at all. But then, don't you think that sometimes that can be a bit too serious, strenuous?
It could, but if you approach it with a mindset that you have today and you are living today as best as you can, and that includes taking time to enjoy the flowers along the way. There's something I learned from my husband. I have to give him the credit. So I'm coming for a meeting at Mövenpick. I get to the reception counter. I see Alpha there, and I engage him and I ask him, where is Omega? Felix is standing next to him, and he goes like, right here. So we are having fun enjoying it, but I was on a business mission, all right. So find a way to engage with the people around you, because we are social beings, and it is essential that you have those interactions and engagement. And the memories that you make, the experiences that you make in any particular day count to your well-being. Yeah. So you should just be mindful of all that. I have a purpose. I'm going on a mission. I'm a human being, and because I'm a human being, I should pay attention to the people along the way. And it's a beautiful world we have out here. So let me also enjoy it, smell the flowers, enjoy the sunshine. And if it is rainfall, even if it soaks you, that's all part of the blessing. Enjoy it and then carry on.
Yeah. Now, you're a financial advisor. I mean, not everybody watching now can probably afford your services or even have time to find you to come. Now, I want you to advise everybody now. I mean, there's been so many things, I know you know about it, going on about everybody trying to quickly make some money. So they probably have 1,000 CDs, 100 CDs, 500 CDs, and they've gone and put it in a microfinance company that has collapsed now. I mean, there's so many stories going around. I got a friend of mine sent me a WhatsApp video that I watched, and my heart was broken. I thought it was a funeral. There were so many men sitting down with red strips of cloth on their heads, some on their wrists and everything. So when I saw it, before I opened it, I thought, oh my goodness, I hope she's not telling me somebody has passed away. And it was actually a story, I think it was something on the news or something, you know, and the gentlemen were saying that if we don't get our money back, we'll die. You know, but at that time, they were also thinking that let me use, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I mean, some people have collapsed. You know, some people have died even because they were investing their money. They saw that as an investment. So was that a wrong decision? So just a bit of financial advice. There's so many women watching, men as well love the Today's Woman show. But, you know, what kind of advice can you give us generally on building our money? Maybe even money is at home. So we don't have that much. We are not with all these huge banks. We've worked a bit, we've gotten some money, but we also want to make something of the money.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, I was just reflecting of people that I learned had miscarried. Yes, there's been miscarriages resulting from the banking debacle. So I really feel what people out there are feeling. The advice I will give to listeners out there when it comes to investing is that in investing, you get rewarded for the risk that you actually take. And the higher the risk you take in, the higher the returns you are going to receive from your investment. So those who are very familiar with interest rates, whenever somebody promises you a very high interest rate, you should be mindful of the fact that the risk that you are taking is also very high. And if you are taking very high risk in order to earn any return, you should also note that there's a very high possibility that you will lose your principal, that money that you are putting in. In investment advisory, we will always do a risk tolerance level assessment before we recommend anything for you. So we need to know whether you are extremely risk averse, which means that you can't tolerate any amount of risk at all, or you have a moderate risk appetite. You can tolerate some amount of risk, which means if you should lose part of your investment, you are not likely to be suicidal or to miscarry. Right. Okay, so different people have different tolerance levels, and you should be honest in the feedback that you give. And based on that feedback, we are able to actually categorize. Sometimes you would come across somebody that's advanced in age, maybe 60-year-old, and you are doing the assessment and he's looking like he's got a high appetite for risk. But you advise him against going for investment that will give him very high returns and therefore a very high risk investment, because he doesn't have too much time to recover. When you go into a risky investment, you are likely to make losses. If you don't make losses, you end up with very high returns. Now, if you should make losses, you should be in a position where you have enough time and resources to recover. I mean, that will not be your end. At 60 years, you don't have too much time to recover, because the average life expectancy for the Ghanaian man is something below 60. Let's say you go to 80, that's 20 years. But if you take a 40-year-old man...
Maybe the 20 years, can you work that hard to recover it?
You could, if you still have a high appetite for risk. Because investment returns are always in cycles. We have the down times, and then we have the peak moments when the economy is buoyant and you're able to get very good returns. So if you have many years to live, then you are likely to see more booming seasons when you can make those returns. So know yourself and understand how much risk you can contain. If you put your money somewhere and the following day you go and you find out that the actual principal you put there has dipped by a couple of cedis and it will bother you, you shouldn't do investments that are risky at all. You should do treasuries. They are called risk-free rate investments. They give you returns that are assured. You are lending to the government of Ghana or to whichever government that you find yourself living under. And sovereigns tend to pay into perpetuity. The new government that will come will pay. So yes, you are safe when you invest in government securities. But even so, you have to check how it is being packaged, because you may end up in an investment house that tells you this is treasury bill, but it actually isn't.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so if you buy a real, there are fixed deposits that may have cycles that behave like the government of Ghana. So if you want the treasury bill for the particular country you are in, the government, then you should ask for that particular treasury government, not just any fixed deposit. That's risk-free. If you have a high appetite for risk, then you can do the stock markets. That's where you have the markets crashing and you can lose everything.
This sort of thing is mainly for like, for maybe the I don't know the best way to put it, like probably like, the educated, you find that a lot of people who are crying and who are so down and everything are people who probably don't have like the greatest of jobs or don't have access to this sort of advice.
When you say they don't have access to this sort of advice, I think it's the attitude that the average Ghanaian may have. We don't ask. We don't ask, because at Data Bank, when I was there, all the time we had people that would walk in or would call and would ask questions. But even beside those that would take the initiative to come and find out, we always had financial literacy programs. What we are doing at Crescendo Consult is also to bridge the gap. And so our clients have access to us when they are taking an investment decision of significant importance. They call us to find out, I'm considering taking this loan. This is the purpose. What do you think? Then we'll guide them through, just talk to them. It's like also seeking the services of somebody, a professional. And it's another thing that we don't do. Sometimes we take things for granted. I have medical doctor friends, and there are things I consult them on, because I'm not a medical doctor, even though I've read a bit.
Sure.
So it's the same. I have tax consultant friends. When there's something about taxation I'm not too sure, I talk to them.
We have to learn.
You have to learn. But we always put a price tag on them. That's what I've observed we do in Ghana. We never talk to lawyers because we think lawyers are expensive. And so by the time we are engaging a lawyer, it is really expensive because we are in trouble. But if you had a lawyer on retention, if you had a financial advisor on retention, the charge isn't much. There isn't too much work to be done, and everybody is happy. But if you wait until you are in trouble before you start looking, sometimes it's too late and it ends up too expensive.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's so true.
Yeah, so I think ladies out there, and any other persons, men.
A lot of men love the show.
You should ask. It's okay to ask. You don't know, or you're just curious, or take interest in things. Don't just think that money matters happen by chance or by accident. I think that doing well with your finances take effort, and you should invest that effort into making sure your finances are secured.
Yeah, I like what you said as well about, knowing the kind of risk you're going into. And you also play a role in a sense, It's like when generally, when certain all these things come up and they promise you such high interest rates, you are so excited to go and take that. So you go in and then you put your money there. But when it doesn't work, then you're so angry. But you took that decision. So you should also be, basically that's what you've said, be open to the fact that it may not work, But I think sometimes as well, those sort of companies lie to the people, And then if they don't come for advice, then hey, they've lost it. Now, how can somebody reach you, and what would they be coming to you for? I want you to explain to everybody so that we learn, because this is a great show. A lot of the things that the women come here on to do, to say, a lot of the time it inspires people and everything, but we also have to learn. Okay, we have to learn that I need to have a financial advisor, I need to have a consultant, for what reason? So why should somebody come and see you, and what would they be getting from you?
Thank you, Renee. So somebody coming to see me would be coming to, if it's an individual, be signing up for personal financial planning. So for personal financial planning, we would start with a budget. We'll take stock of your current financial situation to see what assets you have, what property. I'm trying to use, so that I'm using a technical layman can understand. So I think in Tree they will say ejapadiye. So you're looking at your assets, the things you have that have some value, you can put monetary value on. And then we'll also look at your liabilities, which will be things that you owe, or things that you currently have that you must return. So maybe you went and borrowed money from a bank, or you borrowed a car, or you've rented an apartment that you have to pay for. These are your liabilities. And then how you also, should I say, keep yourself from day to day, your sustenance, living expenses. So we take stock of all that. And then sometimes we have to work for a period so that we can establish how much on average you need for your living expenses over a month's period. Estimate what your utilities are. And then we also check how much wastages are in there. We look at how much you are earning, and then we have to do a plan of how you're going to spend whatever you are earning. Sometimes we need to create additional avenues for you to earn more, because we find out that you are spending.
And that's why I asked you this question, because a lot of people are living above what they are earning.
Yeah.
A lot, many.
So if you are in that situation, you should immediately be looking out for alternative income sources. And there are income lines that you can create alongside if you have a day job, 9 to 5 kind of job. There are things that you can do. For example, you may run an online business on the side. Some people like to go into writing or something in the media, blogging. These are things that you can do at your leisure time. And so it gives you additional income, all right, but it doesn't require you to be sitting in a particular place from 9 to 10. There are those that do network marketing. There are cosmetic companies and health products that you can do along those lines. And then there is investing as well. If you invest wisely, you can actually use that as a means to generate additional income streams.
Now, a few weeks ago, I think, you were one of the main speakers at the graduation ceremony of the University of Ghana. Congratulations for being called to all these things and all that. I think you're doing such a great job, really. I have to commend you for that. And I want you to share with us some of the thoughts that you shared with the graduates.
Okay.
You know, we have to learn as well. And now that you're sitting here, I really want to get everything out of you. So people watch you be like, oh my goodness, I've had like a whole session of finance advice. So what were the thoughts that you shared, you know, with the graduates?
Okay. I was drawing attention to the fact that with the advent of the digital revolution, advances in artificial intelligence and machine learning, that everybody needs to learn to be a leader of themselves, self-leadership. Because with the advances in artificial intelligence, there are concerns and issues that are coming up. One of them is trust issues. How can I be sure that this smiling profile on this person's account is actually that person? Sometimes you find out it's a male and you saw a beautiful smiling lady and you think you are dating them.
Yes,
But so there are serious trust issues. And another issue or concern that comes up is identity issues, identity theft. You leave your footprints all over the web and you can have fraudsters, people phishing, hackers that would be able to access your information and now go and put themselves out as you. It's a risk that you must know how to navigate. We also no longer have the physical work environment that we used to have. So you wake up in the morning, you dress up, get ready to go to work, and because it's within a certain geographical area, all the people that you are working with most likely have certain shared common values coming from certain cultural backgrounds. But now the work environment is virtual. You may be working from your bedroom, from the kitchen, and the people that you are working with on your team are outside of your geographical boundary, and their values and cultural background may be very different. So you have arising very complex issues at work. You need to be smart emotionally and intellectually to be able to navigate this kind of terrain. And you would not have somebody to hold your hand and to lead you and guide you, like you may have had a supervisor sitting next to you who can read your body language and say,
quickly run
Now you are in your home or kitchen and you are running this. So you have to be emotionally intelligent. You have to take up the responsibilities of leading yourself so that in making choices online, in making decisions as to what you do in the workplace, that you are taking responsibility, that you are being accountable to yourself, and so that you are able to excel at whatever you do, so that you are able to read and empathize and understand the complex situation that will arise in the workplace, because you are working with people that don't share your values, don't share your culture, and yet you must get the work done.
Don't share maybe even your time.
Yeah, time zone, you know.
Time zones.
And you also see that in this era, organizational hierarchy structures have become flatter. So you need to be able to speak up. You don't have to go through 3 people or 4 people before it gets to the top. You self-managing teams. You can come together and say, we've seen this waste problem here. Let's come together and solve it. And that's a team. You have to organize yourselves and then also decide who is playing which role. It's pretty flat. You have to be assertive. You have to speak up. And so you must learn excellent communication skills. Some of these things come with practice. You will make mistakes along the way, but it gets better if you don't decide to shut up. And then also networking.
Which is important.
Yes, very important. Some of the people that you meet, you may not have immediate need for them, but you should still meet them and keep them in your network anyway. You should have people from different fields, especially fields that you don't have expertise in. You don't only network in your industry. You should go outside. And the reason why I say that is you can only know so much. And wherever you are handicapped, somebody in your network should complement. What you don't know, whatever decision you are likely to make that would boomerang, would yield backfire, you have somebody that can advise you that, no, this doesn't work like this, because they are an architect and you are thinking of building your house this way or that factory this way. And they can give you the architectural perspective, which will save you so much. So you should network whenever you have the opportunity. You
That's how
never
we
know.
met.
Thank
you so much. It's been awesome. So many other things I wanted to ask, but maybe we'll do a part 2, and I'll let you come back because there's so many other things that I wanted you to touch on as well. But for sake of time, we'll do it another time.
Sure.
Okay. So thank you so much. So ladies, you heard it all. I mean, we keep learning. There's no day that I think you should wake up and say that I have gotten it. I have a degree, I have a master's, PhD, whatever. There's no day that you could get up and say that I've learned it all. You can learn from your child, you can learn from your help, you can learn from anybody, and we should keep learning. And you have to keep watching the Today's Woman show because the women who come on here are winning women. They have a wealth of knowledge to share with all of us. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Today has been awesome, 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 and I'm really, really praying that the Today's Woman in you has told herself that I can make it and I will make it. And now we are going to be taking our money seriously. Time is money. And money is blood, literally. So we really have to take it seriously. I want to wish you all the very best. And don't limit yourself. Keep telling yourself, I can do it and I will. Many thanks to our sponsors. This show won't be possible without you. The Movenpick Ambassador Hotel for allowing us to use your set. Many thanks to GTP and also to Yaz. And don't miss it next week, 11 a.m. on TV3 and DSTV channel 279. Stay blessed.